Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. The double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. But the title of this video is The Call to Investigate the Rothschilds. Now, I already did this lesson, but the sound cut out, so I'm going to do it again. Um, But basically, there's a call to investigate the Rothschilds. This is probably about the third time I'm seeing, just from the people I've watched, them inquiring about, what's going on with the Rothschilds, them being in the files, which is, the Epstein files, of course, and just people learning about them. But, even so much more, people are worried about the Rothschilds and the fact that they run the world, and they basically gave the land of Israel to these small hatters, right? And they're upset about that. So people are, inquiring about them and calling for an investigation. But anyway, this is Luke um, 10 and 23. It says, and he turned him unto his disciples and said privately, blessed are the eyes which see the things that you see. For I tell you that many prophets and kings have desired to see those things which you see and have not seen them, and to hear those things which you hear and have not heard them. Right? In these last days, we're seeing and hearing the fall of our enemies. Right? And it brings the elect great joy. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 25, verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th will I utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that lives to see the fall of his enemy. Right? And that's exactly what's taking place here in these last days, the fall of our enemy. Now, I wanted to grab Psalm 73. It has a couple of points I want. I'm going to read all of it. Right? This is Psalm 73 and 1. Truly, Yahweh, Bashina Shai, is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart, the elect. But as for me, my feet were almost gone, my steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their depth, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasses them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness, they have more than heart for the wish. They are corrupt, and speak wickedly concerning oppression, they speak unlawfully. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Therefore his people return hither, and the waters of a full cup are wrung out to them. And they say, how doth Yahweh Bashmiawashai know, and is there knowledge in the Most High? Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches. Verily, I have cleansed my heart in vain and washed my hands in innocency. For all the day long have I been plagued and chastened every morning. If I say, I will speak thus, behold, I should offend against this generation of thy children. When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me. Until I went into the sanctuary of Yahweh Bashmiawashai, then understood I therein. Surely surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castedst them down into destruction. How are they brought into desolation? As in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors. As a dream when one awaketh, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. Thus my heart was grieved, and I was pricked in my reins. So foolish was I and ignorant, I was as a beast before thee. Nevertheless, I am continually with thee, thou hast holden me by my right hand. Thou shalt guide me with thy counsel, and afterward receive me to glory. Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. My flesh and my heart faileth, but Yahweh Bashmiawashai is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. For lo, they that are far from thee shall perish. Thou hast destroyed all of them that go a whoring from thee. But it is good for me to draw near to Yahweh Bashmi Shai. I have put my trust in the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Shai, that I may declare all thy works. Now, this was the contrast of the wicked. As you can see, the righteous, the Lord will help, but the wicked will go into destruction. But he was battling, with himself, saying, where's this destruction, right? Until he knew the Lord, until he understood what the will of the Lord was, right? And was just to have this devil basically loose for a little season, all right? And he will be destroyed, right? The points I wanted was that they are not in trouble as other men, right? Neither are they plagued like other men, and that's what the individual in the video is, asking too, because they're running the world right now. All right, this is their time, and the Most High also has put them in slippery places, right? It says, "Surely thou didst set them in slippery places; thou castest them down to destruction," because ultimately a snare and a trap was laid for them, right? This Epstein list has mentioned Tel Aviv, it has mentioned the Rothschilds, how they're interconnected, how this Epstein guy was basically funded, or he represents the Rothschilds, right? Something like maybe an ambassador or something like that. So they're heavily tied to this file themselves, right? With them trying to blackmail Donald Trump to get him to make war, for them, wherever the case may be. But we're just happy that these devils are being investigated. Basically, they've been talked about. That lets us know that we're closer to the end, right? So calls to investigate the Rothschild family. Now these Rothschilds are Edomites, right? They're a part of the Amalekites, right? Which is still Edom, but he wishes over in the land of Israel. Calls to investigate the Rothschild family, a European banking dynasty, often arise from a mix of historical and frequently anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, as well as specific documented business-related inquiries. In recent years, these calls have surged through social media and alternative media, and that's because we're getting closer to the end, right? We're seeing an increase in everything: earthquakes, upwards of people, or record-breaking weather, temperatures, and things like that. So, and we're also seeing an increase in the inquisition of the wicked, right? These devils being found out, and that's because scriptures say, when the wicked bear rule, right, the people mourn, but when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Roughly paraphrasing the scriptures, all right? It says, linking the family to claims of global domination. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And this Rothschild family, which is the house of the Amalekites of Edom, run the world. It says whether manipulation and orchestrating epidemics, right? Because all of these devils are tied, in his Epstein list, all of them, even with things that's happening with Bill Gates and all of them. So conspiracy theories and anti-Sem for over 150 years, the Rothschild family has been the target of conspiracies claiming they are a shadowy cabal controlling the world governments and banks, right? And day by day, this is the statement becoming more truer, to the average individual. So these theories often use the name Rothschild as a code for anti-Sem tropes about Jewish influence. I'm gonna just jump down to this one right here. Matter of fact, it says recent baseless and often far right claims suggest the family is involved in, this, thing right here, using weather control technology to drive people into resilient cities, going into 15-minute cities and things like that. And ultimately, they're pointing out who's behind the scenes controlling everything, right? So this one, Epstein's connection, recent investigations as of February 2026 into Jeffrey Epstein's network have highlighted that the Rothschild family CEO of the Edmund Rothschild Swiss Bank maintained contact with him, although the bank has maintained uh, has maintained that these were professional and independent dealings. So they're getting caught up in this mess too with this Epstein list. So the Lord is doing a marvelous work exposing these devils in these last days. Things like Isaiah 47, right? Habakkuk 2, 15 and 16. All right. Let me get this video over here. Now, this is Jacob Rothschild. This is a sorceress, a witch, right? A devil, both devils. And this is like some painted picture of Satan or something.
But from all of her works and dodgy things that she does, she clearly is to an extent. And why are they taking a picture such as this one? Well, these people are connected. And the Rothschilds are connected with Jeffrey Epstein. As a matter of fact, one of them said that Jeffrey Epstein reportedly is his life advisor or life coach. And they're having this satanic image or portrait standing and taking a picture with it. Is there anything being practiced apart from just enjoying art or whatever? Well, we spoke about the reports that came, or the files that came from the Epstein files, that spoke about George W. Bush, the father, participating in child sacrifice, satanic acts that included dismembering children and eating their intestines, including infants. So some of them were actually sacrificed and tortured to death. And some of these Rothschilds, of course, they don't mind having their pictures taken. So how are these things connected to the larger scale of things? The Rothschilds are some of the most important founders of the Zionist state. Without them, several Zionists said that without them, there wouldn't be a country because they funded this whole operation.
Right, and I'll get back to the video on the back end of these precepts here. This is Ezekiel 36 and 1. It says, also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashim. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim, because they have made you desolate and swallow you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashim. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim, to the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, and to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea. Right? That's the Edomites that goes into the Rothschilds, the Jewishes in the land of Israel, all of that. It says, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim, I have lifted up mine hand. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. And that's exactly what's happening in these last days. These devils have, being found out, right? Shameful spewing is being put on their glory. Second Ezra 2 and 15, it says, woe unto them that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and make him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. This is what this devil did. So basically, Nero 47. But he's all in the fouls himself, and he's tied to the fact that he did it, right? It's like, yeah, the whole world right now is saying that you wishes are blackmailing Nero 47, right? Thou art filled with shameful glory, drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful things shall be on thy glory. All right. So these devils are being found out. These top elite. All right. Um, this is first Maccabees chapter 2, verse 7. He said, Woe is me, wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, in the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. What nation have not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman she has become a bond slave. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. All right, this is what am I looking for? This is Luke 21 and 20, the point I wanted in 24. Luke 21 and 20 says, And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Now, this is talking about 70 AD, right? And we haven't been home since, right? Our temple was destroyed, all right? In Jerusalem, our holy city has been trodden down of the Gentiles. The you wishes are over there, and they took it. As the video shows that, he said that the Rothschilds had a big part to play in that you wish becoming a state, right? Because the Rothschilds are you wishes also. Luke 21 and 22, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Now we use this also for these last days because the enemy is going to try it again, right? But this time the Lord Yahweh Bashim is going to lift up a standard against him and destroy these devils and protect his elect, right? But 2/3 of our people will die. It says, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that get sucked in these days, in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land and wrath upon this people, right? And we're in those days right now. And they shall, something called Jacob's trouble, right? We're in the midst of Jacob's trouble, right? And it is just starting up. Everything is just starting up, and it's about to hit max. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. See, that was the Israelites. The Israelites were led away captive into all nations. It says, in Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles unto the time the Gentiles be fulfilled. Now understand this, for you wishes, they wasn't led away captives into no nation. Yeah, they can say they went through this or they went through that, or the sea cost or whatever the fuck they want to say, but they wasn't led away captive into all nations like the Israelites were. So they're the Gentiles that's in that land, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So, second Ezra 6 in 17. And it happened that when I had heard it, I stood upon my feet and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, would they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and have the affliction, and when the affliction of Sion shall be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens, and the book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. Right, so the Lord is now visiting this place because the books are open, right? We have the 100% truth, the prophets, starting with our other apostles, right? The man before us, because we have entered into other men's labors. They have carried the correct message to us, and now we're carrying the correct message to others, right? And the Lord is definitely visiting this place with the tokens, going into the prophecies, right? And that's why the inquisition of the wicked touching the tippity top, the Rothschild family, is right here in our faces. All right. pretty much, that's all I had. I'm gonna play the rest of this video and I'm gonna close it out.
And their influence is far reaching inside of Israel and outside of it. However, that connection wasn't a historical event that ended. There is clearly a continuation of that is being represented by these emails being released, confirming the link between Jeffrey Epstein and the Rothschilds. Now, this connection, absurdly or not, has hardly been mentioned anywhere. Hardly anyone is mentioning anything about this connection in the mainstream, and even on social media. You'll see some coverage, but many people are not speaking about it. Despite the fact that it's one of the main things that prove the connection of these very wealthy people, the Rothschilds family in particular, who helped establish Israel with the main agent, Jeffrey Epstein, and how they're part of funding this whole operation. Then Peter Thiel is also mentioned there. However, no one is saying anything to him apart from random people who go there and investigate him in the streets. There was a recent video of his being published, someone trying to ask him about the Epstein files, and he wasn't saying a word. He was just walking there. Why is there no investigation against these people? Peter Thiel, his involvement. Then, if the claim of Jeffrey Epstein is that he is representing the Rothschilds, who have such large influence, why are none of them being investigated anywhere or questioned by the authorities, as in a mere question? And if they're not, does that mean that the same authorities that do not raise any concerns towards these individuals, and I'm saying at least an inquiry, like we're not saying go and arrest everyone because of an email. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but if someone is mentioned in an email, start to investigate the connection, bring people, ask some questions, simple, ask for a statement. So no one is even asking for a statement, and some people are blatantly ignoring everything. So what would be the point then? If all of this information is being released and no action is being taken, what is the point? They're clearly releasing some of these files, apart from the leverage that they want to use against Donald Trump himself, by the way, that connect to Israel's larger strategic desires, is to confuse the people, to tell them that, look, we are releasing the files and there you have it, we're transparent. But if you're releasing the files without action, without enforcement, then the whole act is pointless, because the same culprits are still in their position, potentially continuing the same pattern of violations, of trafficking, human trafficking, kidnapping, pedophilia, infant sacrifice and cannibalism, and satanic rituals, without even being questioned. And so far that this is the case, there is no denying that the authorities that do not raise or take any actions against these people are completely complicit in their crimes.
All right, so Shalom, skillful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.